Did you ever look at couches online and think to yourself, boy, that'd be nice to buy, but a pain in the butt to move? Well, that's exactly what Tim MacLeod thought when he started flipping couches a few years ago. Tim had 2 kids and a wife and just couldn't make do on a nursing salary anymore. So he started flipping couches on the side and eventually was able to amass a 6-figure income and quit nursing to focus on couches full-time. If it sounds crazy, that's because it is. But it's very real, and so is Tim. His Instagram account, The Full-Time Flipper, has amassed a following of almost 37,000 people who engage Tim in his day-to-day as a suburban dad, an entrepreneur, and a content creator. This is Tim the Couch Guy's second story. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Cybulski. With me, as always, is Corey Leckie. Corey, how's your summer going?
Summer's going pretty good, man. Yeah, really busy. Been trying to do some stuff outside.
That's good. A little more landscaping, tearing stuff out, putting stuff in.
Always. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm always landscaping around here.
Yeah, good. I did a bunch of it yesterday. Fun times. 30-degree weather. It's the best for landscaping. So joining us today, we've got somebody that I'm really excited to talk to. He is the full-time flipper. His name's Tim MacLeod. Tim, welcome to Second Story.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, dude. I have annoyed you a whole bunch of times on Instagram to the point where Corey had to go, maybe you should stop bothering this guy. But hey, it worked. You're here, and we're glad to have you.
Yeah, man. No problem.
I'm really excited to share your second story, to hear it, to get into it. So for those who have never watched our show before, we are Second Story. We talk to people who have gone through an event or a series of events that caused a major change in their life. Could be personal, could be professional. And for you, Tim, we're very excited to hear your second story. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Tim. I went to school for nursing and was licensed as a registered practical nurse in Ontario at age 21. Which was good because I had ambitions of getting married very young. Wasn't a big fan of dating and just wanted to wife someone up. And so I married my beautiful bride, Emily, when I was 21. And I was supporting her through her final years of teacher college on a pretty humble nursing salary. And the day that she graduated teacher's college and we were just about to embark on our double income no journey, we made a baby. And so we just skipped the whole double income and went straight to poverty, which was a lot of fun. And so I was grinding out double after double just to stay on this little financial treadmill that we made for ourselves. And when she got pregnant with our second, I just knew that it wasn't going to work anymore. Like it was going to be like a mental health battle after that if she had to do a toddler and a newborn, and then me at work for 16-hour shifts at least twice a week. So I was looking for something extra, and my options just sucked. Like I could go back and get my RN, which would mean more debt, and then still probably have to work full time, which was just agony to think about because I scraped through school the first time, and round 2 was going to be even harder. Another option was going to a mental health facility that had basically danger pay, like in Penetang they've got the mental health hospital, and you can make $100K as an RPN there if you just live on the part-time list and grind out doubles like I was already doing, except 12-hour shifts. And then career change obviously was an option too, and I hated all of my options, and I just wanted something part-time that could just alleviate the overtime burden, so that I could just do my 8-hour shifts and then maybe have something in the evenings that was supplementary. And it was flipping on Marketplace. I always had a knack for getting a sweet deal on something, and then when I was done with it, I could sell it for top dollar, just with patience and a better listing and a good personality. And so I was doing that, and it was phones at first because that's all I understood and where the opportunity was for me. And if I could just make like $100 on a phone, like 10 times a month, then that was great. But it was competitive, and any Indian kid with a Hyundai Elantra was smoking me because they lived in a better area. And that was actually, there was this kid named Leckie that I met. That was his Canadian name. This Indian guy. and he was making $4,000 a month flipping phones, which was pretty inspiring for me at the time because it was a part-time thing for him. But I was like, I don't want to compete with this guy. And then it was just some life circumstances that opened up the opportunity. And it was when a friend gave us a free couch that was their old couch because they got a free couch from their parents. And then I had to sell mine. And it was not easy to do, selling a couch, because you only get two types of offers. There's the people who want it, are okay with your price, but they're like, can you deliver it? I have no way of getting it. Couldn't do that. I just had a little Mazda. And the other people are, hey, I can come get it right now. Would you take this much? And so it was low balls from people who could pick it up, or at ask plus a premium for delivery, which I couldn't do. And I was like, holy smokes, I think there might be an opportunity in couches. So I pitched the idea to my brother about buying a Ford Ranger and starting to flip couches. And he said, that is a decent idea, but I don't want to see you go $8,000 into debt to do it. Why don't you borrow my trailer, put a hitch on your Mazda, invest $450 in the hitch and the wiring to get ready to pull, and just borrow my aluminum trailer. You'll be able to pull it with your 4-cylinder. And so I did that. And the first day I picked up a used couch that was free only because somebody hit a deadline and they tried to sell it and couldn't. And they were like, yeah, sure, if you can come get it, come get it. And it took like an hour to pick it up, but it was near the in-laws. So we went for a free dinner, got a free couch, and came home. 20 minutes of like TLC, just like damp cloth scrubbing out some uglies, and then photos and videos, and listed it. And it sold the next day for $280, which was sick because a nursing shift after tax was like $180. And so just by acquiring it, it was just like, oh, don't have to do a shift now because I picked up a thing. And so the math was easy on that. It was just, okay, let's do a bunch of them. And it was just free couch after free couch. And then eventually I realized that paying for couches that don't need to be cleaned meant faster money because I didn't have to clean it. It didn't have to dry. I could list it as soon as I pick it up. And the turnover was quicker. And I replaced nursing immediately the first month. So a nursing paycheck, I'd get paid twice a month. And it would be like, I would have to work my ass off to see, I don't think I ever saw $4,000 take home. And it would be a lot of shifts to do that. But yeah, first month flipping couches, it was like 3,500 profit, mostly free inventory. The trailer hitch was paid for right out of the gate. And then the next goal was just buy the trailer off my brother. And over the course of months to about a year, it was pull back to part-time and then to casual. And then I literally just could not stand being at work. Every time I was there, it was costing me money, like the opportunity cost of, shit, someone bought it. That lost that one. And then I just became a terrible nurse. Like, I had a complex and entitlement of just like, I don't need to be here. I don't want to be here. And those are people's parents and grandparents I was looking after. So I fortunately left on my own terms, but I was definitely fireable with the effort that was going into what my 9 to 5 was. And that's been me. And somewhere along the lines, I started a page on Instagram. It wasn't couches at first. I was afraid of telling people about it because I thought everybody would go buy a trailer and start buying up my inventory. But as it turns out, it's more like starting a business draining septic tanks. Like, nobody wants to do that work. So the competition's not too heavy. That's not something I need to worry about.
Yeah.
But it's been 5 years of flipping couches, and I've done over 700,000 in sales. After tax, it's like an 80,000 a year income. But the time freedom is stupid. Like, it's so fun to be able to take my wife and kids with me for a pickup, and it's like half days. I golf a lot. My handle is full-time flipper, but it's not a full-time gig. It's a part-time gig. So it's kind of sweet because you can always, it's perfect evening hustle, and it's full-time, or like it's daytime work for me now, but you can do it around any job. It's sweet.
It's awesome.
Didn't Josh, didn't you do that job at one point? Septic cleaner?
Septic tanks. Yeah, no, I didn't clean them. I pumped them. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was in college, I did that. It was the best job I ever had. I just walked around all day smoking cigarettes and pumping shit out of shitters. It was pretty sweet. I didn't smoke and do the pumping at the same time because it would have blown.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I would have blown myself up. But
Oh, right.
yeah, no, I pumped one summer of pumping septic tanks. That was enough for me. But yeah, wow. Okay, well, I'm going to jump right into the beginning and just kind of get a couple things out of the way. I'm curious, what first attracted you to actually going to be a nurse? You mentioned it was more of like you needed money and a job. Was there anything else that really attracted you to it that fit your personality?
Yeah, I definitely had an inclination for nursing early. It was kind of an "I told you so" from my mom, where she was always like, "You should do it, you should do it," and I was like, "No, that's gay. I don't want to do that." But then, but I just love old people. Like, I just have like bedside manner comes really natural to me, and like greeting strangers comes really naturally. And I remember having an early experience where somebody needed first aid. My brother's friend got his hand all messed up and the bleeding wouldn't stop and everybody was freaking out, but I just like, I got it, I'm on it. And so the not that it's anywhere close to being a first responder, but I got a kind of a rush from being the dude to fix it. And that's funny. I've actually never thought about that. That was like early genesis of why nursing. And then the other thing was that in my gap year, I worked for my brother, and he was framing. And so I got to experience what real work is. And I hate working outside. I hate working with blue collar dudes. Like, I just don't. There's just so much about that I don't like. And so in the contrast, it was like nursing sick because I can make framer money, but my hands aren't cold. I can wear pajamas and go to work with a bunch of ladies. It was just easy breezy. And it definitely fit my personality. And Georgian College was close to my parents' place, so I never had to do the room and board thing. Like, I was driving dad's car, eating dad's groceries while going to school. So I think it was like $7,000 all in for 2 years, because room and board was free. So it was just easy street. Nursing was slick for me.
Nice.
And I fucked around in high school too much and didn't have the credits to do RN. So the original plan was do college, get my RPN, and then bridge and do the whatever. But that was all done. 2.5 years of school. I was like, I am a terrible student. Scraped by. Yeah. So nursing was good, and I did 5 years. And I can't really say that I experienced nursing because long-term care is really cushy. Like, that's like a retirement gig for a lot of people. Money is in mental health, and the bragging rights are in the hospital, I'd say. So there was always like a stigma of just like, oh, just long-term care, eh? Are you ever gonna get it's a good starter job? Are you ever gonna get into the hospital? But just wasn't feeling the 12s, wasn't feeling the paying for parking. There's just so much about it. There's just like, nah, you can keep your prestige job. I like these old people.
Yeah, you didn't want 26 patients all to yourself too at a hospital. That happened to me when I was in the hospital years ago. I was on an ortho unit, and the one night that they were scheduled to have 3 nurses, and 2 of them called in sick, and it was one dude for 26 people by himself, and none of us could walk.
Wow.
And I was just like, how's this even legal? He's like, oh, it's absolutely not legal. I was like, all right, great, cool. Anyways, yeah, hard to believe you wanted to leave that career.
No, it was fun while the financial responsibilities were low. But then kids, man, they're so expensive.
Yep.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
But 5 years was lots. And then COVID just like totally sapped the joy out of nursing. That was, I think, that was still peak COVID when I left. Just misery, man. Like having to wear a mask and have fogged glasses all day, and then you get like ulcers behind your ears from just mask. And then they swabbed me. Like when they brought in the nasal swabs and scraped my brain, I walked straight to scheduling office and was like, I'm out. This is my verbal 2 weeks. I'm flipping
So
houses. Fuck this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that played in, because I know some nurses who left nursing during the pandemic because of the same reasons you just described.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, how much did that actually play into the whole thing? It's weird. We have a nursing shortage now. What are the odds after all of that? So obviously some of it played into you. Were there other things that made you want to leave nursing besides like obviously being in a pandemic and having to do all those things you just mentioned?
I don't know if it was so much nursing as just employment. Like I hated calculating how much stuff cost and how many shifts I would have to trade my life for. You know what I mean? Like everything, a shift was 180 in my mind. So it's like, okay, so wife wants to go on vacation, so that's 12 of those. I don't know. It was just brutal. But then to escape that, and I don't trade time for money anymore. It's like I have hope. It's just like no, you can just work your ass off and go find some big profits. Profits over wages is so much more fun. I just feel liberated. So there's not really any employment situation that tempts me.
Do you find a lot of risk in the entrepreneurial world, or do you find it was more risky when you were in the RPN world?
My brother said something really wise one time, that if you can't handle the law of averages, you've got no right being a business owner. And you can go have a 4 out of 10 day, any day you want as an employee, and be told what to do, when to show up, when to arrive. But you can experience some really, really cool days as a self-employed person, and like the harvest of those risks that you took is awesome. But if you can't handle the days when shit hits the fan, or just like miscalculations and stuff like that, all those little hard knocks you got to learn. But yeah, no, I would take. It just feels like betting on yourself. Like to pursue self-employment is just like, no, I can do better than that. And as it turns out, it was not very hard to replace a nursing wage.
I think you just described the reason why people don't go into business for themselves without just actually describing why they don't go into business for themselves. Is a lot of people like the fact that if I work for somebody else and I go have a 2 out of 10 day at my job, I'm not really gonna. I mean, I might get shit from my boss or something like that, but I'm not gonna pay the penalty for the most part. My company will. That's their problem. That's a them problem. But if I'm a business owner and I have a 2 out of 10 day, oof, I'm gonna feel it. And if I stack up a bunch of 2 out of 10s in a row, I'm in real trouble. Whereas, if you work for a big corporation and you stack, weeks and weeks of 2 out of 10 days, you might get a couple warnings from your boss. I mean, you might at worst lose your job if you do it for a long period of time, but as a business owner, you might not have a business anymore. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people want to subject themselves to.
Yeah. And I've had that conversation a bunch with people who, like, I got a buddy who hates his job, like hates his boss, but then like whenever, and he's got his own little like side photography thing, but anytime that it's like, dude, just like go all in on it. Not even go all in on it, but just like hit the gas harder in your evenings, because it's not hard to replace your income. Like he really, like, he can't give up the steady, like the guaranteed meh, like stops him from the like, maybe it'll be awesome.
The golden handcuffs, right? If you have a job that just pays well enough,
yeah,
hard to leave. We talked about that in 2 episodes ago, the region beta paradox. Something's good enough to kind of keep you trapped versus when shit really gets bad, you spring into action, you go someplace else. Kind of what you did, right?
Yeah. Until the pain of remaining the same outweighs the pain of change, you will not change.
Exactly. That's a great segue to it. I wanted to touch on this. I don't know if you created this expression, but I took it probably about 6 months ago when you said it on Instagram, and I was like, I need this to be like my mantra. So every day I create a schedule of what I'm going to do that day, and before I write any single thing down that I'm going to do that day, I write this quote.
Yeah.
And this is a quote from your Instagram, and the quote is, "Do you want to feel the pain of discipline or the pain of regret?" Literally, that's the first thing I write, and then I break down all I'm going to do for that day. And anytime I open it and I look at it and I haven't done the things I needed to do, I always go straight to the top and I go, and I think to myself, like, what do I want to feel? Pain of discipline, pain of regret. And I get that list done every day because I'm disciplined and I'm willing to feel that pain versus feeling bad at the end of the day that I didn't do something. And I don't know that a lot of people are there yet, but I think more people are getting there.
Yeah, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, right? But pain of regret, tons. That's Jim Rohn, by the way. No.
Jim, who's that?
Old school business philosophy guy. Like he's like, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Anthony Robbins. Tony was like a pimply 17-year-old at the back of the room in one of Jim Rohn's conferences.
No.
Jim's OG, like he's the
Interesting. I've
godfather
never heard of him.
personal development.
Wow. We'll get him on the show.
And he's super dead.
He's super dead.
Super
AI.
dead.
We'll AI him. We'll AI him on the show. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to write that name down. I've never heard of him before.
Probably if we dug into him, we'd probably know a lot of his quotes, eh?
Yeah.
Is he kind of like an old school? Is he like an Alex Hormozy type too? Did you know Alex Hormozy?
Oh, I love Hormozy. Yeah, I don't know. He's the godfather. Like Tony Robbins. Like I can think of a bunch of like the greats who'd be like, oh yeah, Jim's the one who got me on it. It's just old school.
Interesting.
So Josh was talking about discipline and structuring his day. Can you walk us through some of the things that you do to structure your day?
Yeah. Well, there's the ideal and then there's the bare minimum, which I'm really fortunate that coaches profit so well because I can get by with a very, very piss poor effort. But in the dream world, I have my day planned out the day before. I work out every other day. So if it's a lift day, I'm at the gym sometime before 7 a.m. I never work out back to back. And about 2 or 3 times a week, I like to head south with an empty trailer and do a double pickup. I hate going down for just one. I like to really maximize the trip so that I don't have to do it more than I need to. But a dream day is a lot like the one that I just posted a day in the life video on Instagram today. A morning workout.
Watch that.
And then take care of my puppies, have a little visit with my family, and then just scoot south solo and then go find some like doozies to put in the trailer. The goal is to buy $1,000, as in I want to fill the trailer with stuff that will sell for $1,000 more than I bought it for. So the other day was 2 black leather sectionals. One was in Alliston, the other was in Stouffville. Felt like a full day of work. $400 for one, $450 for the other. One's listed at $1,950, the other's listed at $1,450. Like they're big profits, and it's just staying patient for those big ones. I don't do free couches anymore. I'm looking for stuff that's gonna sell well, that's just being sold by people who have given up on selling it without delivery because it's pretty hard to do. Staying organized. I used to have a really good routine, and every once in a while I'll hop back into it where I'll just be at the kitchen table with a notepad, and it's just like a little Brian Tracy ritual. Have you heard of Brian Tracy? How about that?
I was gonna ask you about Brian Tracy. I have heard Brian Tracy.
Yeah, Brian's the GOAT, man. I love him. But to just write down goals in the present tense and just kind of like get that creativity, and it kind of feels like if you were going for a hike to like climb a summit of a mountain. Writing down your goals is kind of like looking up and seeing the peak and being like, hey, that's where we're going. And then writing a to-do list is like, okay, what are my steps? I got to go there. I got to traverse that. We're going to go across. And so it's just write down the goals, and then which one is going to be, which one, if you accomplished it, would make the biggest impact on all the other ones. And then just hone in on that and then make a to-do list based on that. And a lot of the time my goal is let's sell $20,000 worth of couches this month. And what that requires is me staring at my phone, sifting through Kijiji, looking for impatient rich people, and then lining those up. And it's not look for a couch and then go pick it up. It's usually I'll block time and I'll shop for couches, and then I send $50 deposits and just lock them down once I know that they're a real person who isn't going to take my money and block me. And then just stacking those so that I can just hit the road. I already have the address. I already have the phone number, and I'm just going to be in their driveway at 9 a.m. kind of thing.
I think we should talk about Brian Tracy.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we should kind of jump into that a little bit. Corey, are you familiar with Brian Tracy? This is one I actually know.
No.
So Brian Tracy's priorities, right? That's who you're talking about? The one he created the list of how to break down your priorities each day?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to break into that for a sec? just talk about, because I know you used to, I do it too.
Yeah.
Breaking down your daily priorities.
So he's got this beautiful, simple little thing called the ABCDE method, and it's when you write down, you just stare at a piece of paper and you just take a dump on the paper of just everything. And I think a good way to think of it is, if you could clone yourself or you had an employee, what would be all the shit you want him to do that day? And you have like two versions of yourself. You have the boss who does a dump on paper for all the employee stuff to do, but then you realize you don't have any employees and you're also the employee and you got to go do that stuff. So to just like, okay, this could be done, this could be done, this could be done. Maybe like a backyard category. I wanted to get that done, that done. But then to not try and reorder it, not try and prejudice of just like, no, we'll do that later. Just everything onto the paper, and then to start categorizing it. And the A category is stuff that is urgent and important. If it doesn't get done, there's going to be consequences, right? If I don't shop for couches, someone's going to buy the good ones. If I don't list my couches, people aren't going to see them. They can't buy them. And that's the A category. B category is stuff that it does have to be done, but it's not. If it got done tomorrow, that'd be fine. C is stuff that it would be nice to do. So like, I have such a muscle memory of like A, shop, relist, clean the kitchen, because happy wife is on the A list for me. B would be like catch up on bookkeeping. Doesn't have to be done now. It's not the end of the month. Bookkeeper's not hounding me for it. That's fine. And then C, I just immediately write golf. D is stuff that I want to, that I can delegate. So if there's anything that Emily could do for me, she's my only employee right now. If there's anything that Emily could take off my plate, that's in the D category. E is eliminate, and I'll always, same thing, muscle memory of just like E, I'll write down scrolling, eliminate scrolling. It doesn't always happen. Wrathful thoughts. Sometimes I just get in the fucking, like if someone sends me a spicy message, like I need to like restrain myself. But anything that is just gonna like take me off the path of focus is in the E category. And then I added the F category, which is just what are we gonna eat today? Just because I've got an aggressive protein goal, so it's nice to be like, hey, we're gonna eat the beef, a shake, and this. Just plan that nice. So that, because I fast and I get home at like 3 and I'm ravenous, and it's nice to have a little bit of a plan for what I'm gonna eat. Otherwise, I'm just gonna eat hummus and pretzels. But yeah, the ABCDE method is potent, and not to be taken lightly. It's so perfect.
Yeah. So I do it. I wish I could show you my screen, because I literally have it open for today. And on my tasks is eliminate doom scrolling and eliminate wasting time on social media, which is pretty much what you're describing as well.
Yep.
And yeah, it's honestly, it's changed my life doing things this way, because I have a lot of tasks going on. Like I do a lot of freelance work and obviously do this show too. So it's a lot of like day to day. I got to really manage my time. Yep. So I do the dump every day onto the paper and start breaking stuff down. And my list is very similar to yours, but Brian Tracy's method, if you don't know it, it's pretty terrific. And if you can put it into play and make it part of your regular habits, say an atomic habit, perhaps, it's a very, very effective way to manage your life. And if you manage different priorities, kids too, another big thing, right? It's tough managing a business and kids and everything else.
It's a wild thing to not be an employee, like, because when I was a nurse, it was just like, yeah, you just wake up, you go to work, you get paid, you come home, you play Call of Duty, and everything, like, life goes on. But when you have a business or aggressive goals, like my goal is to replace coaches with content and coaching and be like a monster digital course guy. It's not going to happen on its own. Like, I can autopilot a nursing job and bring home $57,000 a year or whatever. But you can't autopilot your way into massive affluence. And it's like trying to start a fire, and just like, you have to like baby it, like, come on, kindling. And it's just so much effort. And it's wild to see that I started my Instagram page in 2019 and that I haven't quit on it, even though I have barely made $1. Like, you gotta love sucking, like you have to be willing to be bad at it if there's any hope of you being good at it. And but it's crazy the amount of focus that's necessary. And I don't know how I would ever do it without Brian Tracy. Like it's just basic success principles. But yeah, I'd recommend him to anyone. And my favorite thing about Brian Tracy is how accessible he is. Like he is old school. Like you can go into any thrift store and you will find some of his stuff on the shelf. Like I guarantee it. And you can go to any library, any like YouTube is just so flush. Like you don't have to pay for Brian Tracy. Like it is very much free. And it's just out there, and it's just so foundational. And I wish I could just like shove it down everybody's throat. But
you got me into the Jim Rohn quote, the discipline one. If you would have got me, you might have got me into Brian Tracy. It was like a year ago that I started doing it. It might have come from me. I don't honestly know.
Well, that's cool because I always felt like such a pretentious douchebag making those videos. But that's cool that planted a seed for you.
Oh, they're useful, man. I guess breaking it down. So you do the couch flipping as a business. You're a father and a husband. You're starting into the coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also an online influencer, right? Like safe to say you've got those 4 buckets.
It's my least favorite title, but we could call it that.
Okay. What would you like?
Content creator, yeah.
Content creator. Okay.
I don't have any brand. Like there's no links in my bio for other people's stuff. Like I'm not encouraging anybody to buy anything. So I like to reject that.
Okay. Influencer. Okay. Fair enough.
I
guess I think of influencers differently. Like I think of it even like I think of Alex Hormozi as an influencer.
Cool.
Because he's influencing things in my life. I don't know.
Well, no, I'll take it as a compliment, especially with you adopting some Brian Tracy stuff that I regurgitated. That tickles me. But usually, the only time someone calls me an influencer is when they're trying to hurt my feelings.
Okay. All right. Well, I won't do that then. But what I've noticed is like you do a great job of telling your story in like a very authentic way. Your videos on Instagram, they're very entertaining. They're funny. I've seen ones where you're like lip syncing to a track, which takes a lot of planning and forethought to even think, okay, this is what I'm filming today.
Yep.
How important do you think today that type of video work is to a business?
Ooh, I don't know, man. I'm not much of a marketing guy. I've been making videos for my golf course, and I don't know that I have impacted their sales whatsoever, but I think just improving their presence has been appreciated. And my course isn't selling, so I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that question.
Okay, fair enough. So
for a plug for his business.
No, let me change it up then. Yeah, I do video work, but so how important is it to you then to be showcasing yourself authentically?
I like to make videos that I like. Like if you were to ask me who is my favorite creator, it sounds pretentious, but I am. I really, really like the videos that I put out. Nobody watches them more than me. It's almost pathetic. That I can just get trapped in my own stuff. It's just like, oh man, I'm glad that worked out. And a lot of these videos have been like, my brain is like polluted with concepts, and it's the only way that I can get the voices to stop is by making the video. Like that. Did you see that funny video I did the other day of the black coffee in the manual transmission car?
Yeah.
That
I did.
That's been in my head for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't until my mom dropped off her car and her dog so that they could carpool in their other car to her sister's cottage that I finally had it. I was like, oh my gosh, I can make that video right now. Made myself a shitty cup of coffee, went and filmed that. It was one take, and it 3 million views right out of the gate. Like it didn't stop. Straight to 3 mil. And it makes me want to puke because that video has been in my head for 2 years now, and it took me 40 seconds to execute. I just coasted down the hill to the stop sign at the end of my street, did it in one take, posted it raw, like auto captions in ugly widescreen, Like it was not well executed. Or no, it was well executed and it took 2 seconds. And my brain is full of stuff that is just like, I haven't done it yet. And it's so frustrating because I don't even want to know how close I am to my goals, but I know it's close. Like, especially finding out how wrong I launched my course the first time. Like, I made it and then I launched it, and then who the fuck wants to sell couches, right? Like, I might as well have made a septic tank draining course. Who wants to do it? But I learned after that that's the wrong way to launch a course. You sell the course before you make it. I didn't know that. You make a promo video, you do a pre-launch, maybe you build an email list and then launch it via email, and then once you've got 200 people, then you make it. And like the follow-up courses, like I need to redo the couch course into something that's not couches, just Facebook, Marketplace Mastery, or flipping foundations or something like that. Something that like a single mom could impulse buy for $29 and then see a return on investment that week by just like purging her house of shit and selling on Marketplace and freeing up $1,200. That I've known that I need to do that for like a year now, ever since the couch course kind of flopped. And mind you, it's just organic. Like I've just done organic. I've never pushed ads or anything like that. For my course, but like my landing page is dog shit and like everything just sucks. Like there's just so much about it that I just don't even know where to begin. But I don't know. I don't remember the question or my answer.
You're just reminding me of the Chris Williamson quote. I don't know. He probably got it from somebody, who knows, but it's when he talks about it, the answers you're looking for and the work you're avoiding. A lot of times, that's what Corey and I say it all the time. There's stuff we're avoiding too. And we're like, we're not on the cusp of anything great, but we're starting to turn the corner and see results. And we're like, we could probably drive this thing faster if we just did this other thing. And we just can't find ways to do it. Or we're just too tied up or lazy or whatever. Or what?
Or lazy. Yeah.
Or lazy. Yeah, we're lazy in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's just stuff like if we did it, we probably would see much bigger results. But life has a funny way of stopping you, and you kind of have a funny way of stopping yourself sometimes too, and it's tough.
Yeah. Fucking rots your bones though, eh? Knowing what could be if you could just be a robot and program yourself to ignore all the fleshly desires.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. This is a perfect segue to something I wanted to talk to you about. I was trying to find an organic way to do it, but this is perfect.
Lay it on.
I wanted to talk about our programming as people, because Corey and I were actually talking about this before we jumped on the call with you. I find in the last year, I have shed more of my own programming than ever before in my life. I'm almost 40. I'm 39. And as I'm approaching 40, there's so many things that are in my unconscious bias, the way I feel about things, that I've started to shed over the last year since we kind of got into doing this podcast. And Cora's talking about it too. But these are all things that were programmed through my childhood into me, through going to school, through the media, through all these different things that I've had to just try to get rid of because they're actually holding me back. So you talk about programming a robot. That's kind of what I'm trying to do, like, is reprogram my own robot brain.
Yeah.
Did you find that when you were in nursing and you're trying to get out, was there something in you as far as like a bias or like the feeling of like, I'm supposed to do it this way, like this is what everybody told me, that you had to shake before you could actually go and do your own thing and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, probably caring what people think. I think probably in the beginning, I really thought there was a couple things that broke down. And the first was that people that I already know will support me. It's just like people I know would buy a couch from me. People I know would follow my Instagram page. If I'm starting a little project page, I follow theirs. I like their bullshit. I'll give them the decency of a double click. But like to see, like my anniversary's coming up. I just had a Facebook memory and it's me and like my 8 friends. Like I had one table of high school friends at my wedding, and of the like 7 of them, I think 3 of them follow my page that I've been working on for years. Like you think that your friends are going to be your supporters, but they won't. like they won't necessarily, they won't give a shit. And the people who you haven't met yet will be your biggest supporters. Like I could think of like 50 names of people. It's just like I see their name all the time. I'm talking to them at least once a week and in the DMs and stuff like that. And I don't know, I've never met the people, but I'm closer with them than I am from the people that came to my wedding. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And going out on a limb and trying something and starting something will really, really show you who gives a shit about you. So that was some programming to shed of just like, no, they'll support me. It's like, no, you just lived near each other in high school. Like these are not, and we grow up in these cohorts of like, these are people your age. And then as soon as you go to, I think college is the first time where it's like, nope, everyone's got different ages now. Now you can actually like blend personalities and interests and values and stuff like that. And it's painful to realize that Kanye West lyric of people in your life are seasons and everything that happens is for a reason. It's just like, oh God, it's just like that season, those people. It's just like, no, Tim's an Instagram guy now, and there's just people like, there's just invites I don't get anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a weird dynamic to experience, but
It is.
it's inevitable.
People, if you give people long enough, they'll show you who they really are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if I mean, I mentioned I'm getting close to 40. There's a lot of people that I see that are kind of in my life, but like used to really be in my life. And yeah, they're not the people who supported. Like I had a book come out years ago. Never heard from them on that one. I doubt they ever bought it or read it. And then there's complete strangers who love it and like they'll be first in line to buy my next book. And it's wild to see like the people you thought would do it don't. And it's bizarre. I can't really explain it, but yeah, I think that gets into your point of like you learn not to care what others think as you get older, or as you get into this space at least.
Yeah, and in the beginning of Couches, I started with some dishonesty in the beginning, because I thought that people would be like, "Ew, you're just buying used couches to resell them? That's so weird." And so for my first like 10 customers, I had this line of my in-laws are downsizing to a condo from a 5-bedroom home, and so I'm just helping them clear out some rooms. And so that was good for like two couch sets. But then it was just like, hey, you don't, that story doesn't work anymore, buddy. You got 3 listings up right now.
Yeah.
And also, and so that was on the selling side. And then on the buying side too, I thought people are going to hate that I'm buying their couch to flip it and make a profit. And so again, in the beginning, like the first week or two, I had this dishonest little pitch of I'm helping my little sister furnish her first apartment. I don't have a sister.
I was about to ask.
don't got one. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. And then I picked up this couch from this lady she had it listed for $100, and she accepted my $20 offer. And she was so nice, and I just felt like such a piece of shit driving away. Of just like the truth would have done just fine. Like that wasn't a necessary tale. And so in my course, I have like a full module on your obligation for honesty. But I'm so proud of what I do now. Like I have absolutely no problem. And typically people kind of have a feeling that I do this professionally. Like when they see me back up a trailer into their driveway and then put a couch in the trailer by myself and strap it, I'm just like, there's no mystery of how I'm going to do it. Like it's just zipped up, and they're like, you look like you've done this before, is very common. And I've got absolutely no problem telling people that I have a resale business in Muskoka, and I've got 6 storage lockers that cost me $1,000 a month, and I drive 7,000 kilometers a month in this 2009 Toyota. Like the truth does just fine, but the initial programming of people aren't going to like this was totally false.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about truth too, I remember I was talking to this old, he was an older guy. He was retiring from his business. He had a bakery business, and he ran it for like 40, 50 years, something like that. And he was retiring. And I remember asking him, because I was starting my business out at the time, and saying to him, like, what's the biggest piece of advice that you have that you could offer me as a new business owner? And it was tell the truth. because the problem with when you do start like telling lies and stuff in business, then you've got to remember that lie. So 2 months, 2 years down the road, someone could say, why was it again that you missed that deadline? There was something that you had said. What was it? And then you got to try to remember that, but you never forget the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
No, nothing easier to remember than the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like in the last 5 years, and maybe this has something to do with the pandemic, I don't know, but the idea of expert is being challenged, I'd say. And I'm seeing more and more just sort of regular people that are bootstrapping businesses and kind of showing the ins and outs and the good and the bad and everything of their business coming online and becoming those experts. And I find myself following those people more than your traditional, I'm an expert in business and I wear a suit and tie and this is where I got to. Um, what do you think about that changing environment and the changing idea of who's considered an expert?
There's something really helpful when I was diving into creating courses that was the notion from Amy Porterfield that you only need a 10% hedge. You only need to be a little bit ahead of other people. Like if you and I were climbing a mountain together, I don't need to be at the very top of the mountain being like, hey, now that rock, yeah, left hand. Like it's just reaching back and just like, oh, for that one, yeah, just, you know what I mean? You only have to be a little bit ahead. With couches, that's easy because I'm a little more than 10% ahead of anybody who would want to take a stab at that. But I think a lot of the time it's just who's willing to make the content. Like it doesn't. You can be a 4 out of 10 on execution of it, but if you and maybe only 5 out of 10 on how good of a video you can make. But if you put them out a few times a week, long enough, right? Like it doesn't. Being the expert sometimes just means being the consistent one. And so there's people in the reselling space, like there's so much untapped. Like there's people who exclusively do large commercial appliances and they sell them on eBay, and they are experts at eBay and loading things onto skids and like that kind of shit, whereas mine is just Facebook Marketplace, no shipping. I deliver everything myself. All I do is couches. I don't refurbish dressers. I don't know shit about stripping, sanding, staining, any of that. It's just as is hot potato in one category. So it was easy to be the expert, but I think that sometimes being the expert is just being the one who won't shut up about it.
Good point.
You strike me as somebody who kind of plays the short game, but also plays the long game at the same time. This sort of is going to go back to what you're talking about, where like, you know, people just working a job and you're not really going to get ahead working a job. I've kind of figured this out myself over the last couple of years, that because I was like you, working a job full time. Corey was the same, where I had that epiphany, like, I'm not going to make it if I do this. Like, I'm not going to give my family the life that I want to give them. I'm not going to give myself the life that I want, have the time, you know, all those things. So I realized that I was playing a short game and I need to start playing a long game at the same time. So I became both. And you strike me as somebody who plays both. Corey plays both too. Is your goal? This is my goal. My goal is to eventually just be a long game player, which I think is your game too. To build something big enough for myself that I don't have to play the short game anymore. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you another Jim Rohn quote that is like deep in
Nice.
my soul and wiring, is to work full-time on your job and part-time on your fortune, and always be working on the next in a part-time effort. So nursing was full-time and couches was part-time. I would get off at work at 2 and load up the family, and then we'd go pick up a couch or deliver a couch. And that was I was building my fortune in my evenings with couches. And then when the math worked, that it was just like, no, you know how to buy the good ones. And you have fully replaced nursing part-time. So full-time, the math is obvious on what it's going to be like when you go full-time. But now I'm stuck in that. Now my full-time is couches and content is part-time. And so I'm always in the background, and it's just like if you're driving a stick shift, like you get up to the top of first gear and then you clutch in, shift, and then one more rev before you slide the clutch out, and it's just like, and next, and then just up the ladder of nursing into couches into content into whatever that's going to be. But long game for sure is important to focus on. And it's not gonna happen on its own. Like it's like building a fire. Like you just gotta like stoke it and just relentlessly be working on next, without any guarantee that it's gonna happen. Like it's the blind faith, um, that ensures the arrival. Like the consistent effort. Like I know how suited I am for it, and how, but like there's this stupid voice in my head that like says it's inevitable, like it's gonna happen, but it's not gonna happen. What did I do yesterday? Did I do anything yesterday to get myself closer to the goal? No, I didn't. I didn't make any videos. I shopped for couches. That was the full-time thing. I played golf. That was the comfort thing. But did I make any lessons for the next course? Did I plan a script for a launch video? Nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to happen on its own. Like you have to get to a point where it's just like, I'm so fucking sick of the lies that I've been telling myself of it's going to happen on its own. It's like, no, it's not, man. Work. Like there's so much shit you got to do.
There is.
Which is encouraging, but discouraging at the same time.
For sure it is. And it's something that Corey and I are both learning. I'm really learning it, playing the exact same type of games that you're describing. I think I notice a lot of people and a lot of friends who don't want to play that. They just want to go to work and go home and play Call of Duty like you talked about. And, I've had conversations with them about how, like, we don't live in a time where you can do that anymore unless you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And even in some cases, if you are, it's still not enough if you want to give yourself a certain life. I don't really like, they want something better, and I don't know how to really nudge them, and they don't know how to nudge themselves. So it's not my job to nudge them, but how does somebody find that discipline? Like if they don't have it inherently in them, how do they find it?
I don't know, man. It took circumstance for me to find it. Like my, so I breezed over my story. It was our second pregnancy, but we actually lost that pregnancy. We miscarried our second, and it was this dark little season where going home just sucked. Like the normal of just like get off a nursing shift, come home, watch a show with them, or play Call of Duty. Like everything just sucked. And having a sad, like broken wife, just pulled something out of me where it was like, okay, we got it. Let's do something weird. Let's flip couches. And couches was just the beautiful little distraction that got me through it. And then I just had so much hope that I could do something big since I got a taste of profits over wages. But some people don't have that coming their way. They don't have the circumstances that are going to like force them to grow. And it's such a shitty, stale place to be where it's good enough and you don't have to grind out and make a massive change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm coming up on mine now.
It is. I mean, that's Corey and I were the same. Like it was basically circumstance pushed us kind of into this thing where we're like, we can't just keep grinding out a paycheck. I equated it in one of our previous episodes to a paycheck is just a drug and you get hooked on it. And every 2 weeks, you're just looking for your fix and you get your fix and it's only good enough to take you to 2 weeks later. And that's essentially what a paycheck has become. And we're getting to a point where the fix is not enough. And like any fiend I've ever seen, they need more of it. And if they don't get enough, it gets ugly. And that's what I think we're starting to get to in our society, which is frightening.
Yeah, we'll put.
Yeah.
And they'll do weird things for that fix.
Yeah.
So gotta get weird.
Yeah.
So since we've started this show, we're noticing the trolls. We're noticing the trolls more. And you get your fair share of trolls on. Sure. I've seen some comments on some of your videos. Mm-hmm. I even saw a guy. I was watching one of your videos. I don't remember which one. It was a simple video where you were, I think, loading couches, like, and came on there and was like, "This guy's a parasite," and all this stuff. Yeah, and I loved your response because I think you just corrected some of his spelling or something in one of his words. But why do you think that happens? Like, why do you think people feel the need to sort of knock others down?
Keyboard confidence, baby. That guy's not saying that to my face. But why do people say that? Yeah, I don't know, man. People just need to get it off their chest. But I love it. They are so helpful. The only videos that have ever done well for me are the ones worth talking shit about. And if you want to make everybody like you, nobody's going to like you. Like, you have to find your audience. And the best way to find your audience is to make a video where the comment section just becomes a war zone. And the reason that my response to that guy was so simple, like I remember what you're saying, he used the wrong accept, and I just corrected him. And the reason that's all I needed to do with that one is because I've got such a loyal audience now, and most people, like, they'll just fucking like bully the bullies right out of the chat. Which is a sweet place to be because it wasn't that way always. But it's cool. My audience is great. And a lot of the time, people who have something mean to say will very quickly find out that they're the minority. And that, no, maybe I need to shut up because there's a lot of people here that seem to like what he's doing. But I don't fault them. And a lot of the times I'm setting myself up for trolls because they are an asset. Like, they are the fuel to the fire a lot of the times. And my audience is the size it is because of how comfortable I am.
I remember early on we had like a negative comment on one of our videos for one of our guests, and Josh had messaged me. He's like, "Man, look at this guy's like comments, like, terrible." I remember saying to you, Josh, that, well, that means that we've reached outside of our friend group. So that means we're actually getting out there. We're actually growing. This is like something to celebrate.
Yep.
We're there.
And nobody who talks shit is doing better than me. Like, if they were, they wouldn't be. They got other shit to do, right? Like, it's always just like, okay, buddy, that's cool, good comment. You should probably get back to work now, right? Break time's probably over, right? Like, your boss might see you on your phone. You should get back to work. Like, it just,
It's true. I mean, it's usually not a moment where somebody's feeling good about themselves, where they're like, "Oh, let's get on Instagram and start trashing some people who are trying to, do something cool."
I noticed that you bring your kid on, well, some of your couch runs, and you bring them golfing and stuff. Is that sort of out of necessity, or is it just you like bringing them along? And I guess my other question is, I kind of love that you let them be bored. So can you talk a bit about that, like allowing your kid to have that boredom and why that might be important?
Tell me about the boredom.
A lot of times we're just entertaining our kids now, right? Or they're fully entertained by video games, YouTube, whatever, social media, whatever. They're just constantly getting hit with stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that you allow your kid to just sit in the cart while you play golf.
Yeah.
You let him do his own thing, really. Like, he can get involved if he wants. You kind of just leave him to his own thing. And there was comments on Instagram about, like, was it like, is your kid bored, or like, should you bring your kid golfing? I forget what the comment was, but there was a couple comments about it. And I actually think it's awesome that you do that, because I personally think kids should be bored. They're not ever bored. And I'll tell you why I feel that way after, but just get your thoughts on that first.
I don't know if it's totally accurate. I've got iPad kids for sure.
Okay.
But and him coming to work with me was just out of necessity because my wife was a not supply teacher. She had an LTO last year, so she was working full time. But I don't need daycare when I do couches, so Huddy would come for couch runs with me. And yeah, golfing with him is also just necessity. Like, those were typically like work days when my wife was busy. I would way rather go golfing without him. But he's cute to have around, and he has a little content machine. You throw a mic on him and you're going viral. Like, he's so fun.
Yeah, I love that.
But no, I think that might have just been out of context, like, just because of the cuts that you thought he was bored. But he's He thinks out loud. You can't, like, it reminds me of Shrek all the time when someone's like, "Oh my gosh, he's so good at talking. Like, his vocabulary is incredible." And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Yeah, it's getting him to shut up. That's the trick." Like, he's a lot. He's a lot. And so no, I would way rather end fucking talking during my downswing. Like, I can't get him to figure it out. I can't get him to stop. So no, I would way rather go golfing without him. But at the same time, like, you don't realize how short life is, and you forget that everything is numbered. Like, there's only so many times that I'll go golfing with my little dude, and shame on me if that's only a 2-digit number. I think, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that better be a 3-digit number. That, how many rounds of golf? Fucking 4 digits. But like, I won't have 3-digit rounds of golf with my dad, but with Hudson, I want to have 4-digit rounds of golf. You know?
Yep.
Like, he's never gonna be smaller than he is today. Like, he's gonna be bigger tomorrow. Like, it's just nuts how fast it goes.
My 12-year-old is as tall as me now, and it's just, you're right. Like, you really do start counting the days more when your kids are there.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that I look at with what you're doing, I actually see it as a good thing. He's learning things like restraint, like maybe don't talk during my downswing. He's learning to entertain himself, and maybe he's learning some things for the future if he goes into something like this, you know?
Yeah. Like, I really hope that I don't necessarily need to have entrepreneurial kids, but I want my kids to be so comfortable talking to strangers and asking for favors and asking for people to make a purchase. Like, I was very, very comfortable with door-to-door sales. I never did door-to-door sales for a job, but like grade 5, going to knock on doors and ask people to buy cookie dough or friggin' muffin batter for a fundraiser for a field trip or something like that. Like, I was totally not afraid to just like, "Hey, will you whip out your credit card right now and support me in this thing for this field trip?" And then like grade 11, going to find like lawn care customers for Tim's Trims, like to just to like have a pitch and just like deliver it comfortably to someone that you've never met. Like, I want that for my kids. And I like to think that Huddy's, like, it's just the norm for, like, how many times that I've knocked on a door and been like, "Hi, you here for the couch?" And then like, it's just me and Huddy in a stranger's house, just like loading cushions and stuff like that. Like, I want him to have that comfort level. So yeah, that'll be one of the wins from couches, is what I expose my kids to.
Something that I've picked up, it's more than one, but something that I've always picked up from your videos, like looking at sort of your life, and I'm trying to build this life too. Like, I want my kids to see me do a lot of things in this life, but the main things I want them to see me do is tell the truth, be myself, be able, be comfortable conversing with people, lift heavy things. I'm breaking these down in my head, and it's like all the stuff that you do in your videos, and those are all things that you do in front of your own kid too in the videos. Like, I saw one where you're lifting weights, and your kid is like, "What are you doing?" And you're just like, you're like literally lifting weights in front of him. It's pretty funny to think. But like, learning to be bored too is another one that I want my kids to do. And when I was a kid, my dad always said to me, when I would do boring things, my dad always said to me, like, the boring things are the things that will make you money in your life. And now that I'm older, I've chased so many of my dreams that were like exciting, thrilling things and never made money at any of them. But it's like some of the boring things where I'm like, I don't want to do that. Where you are making the money. Like, I didn't, the things I do that make money were not things I really ever aspired to do. I wanted to be a hockey broadcaster and make movies, and maybe one day I'll make money at that. But I'm almost 40 at this point in my life. I haven't. So it's the boring things that have made me money, and teaching my kids to be bored is very important, because that's probably how they're going to make their money eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Embracing the boredom is definitely a really good summary for what's necessary to be successful in a lot of endeavors, especially with what the kind of stuff we're after, with just like relentless creation. And even like, and just being willing to suck, like to make a video and like spend 90 minutes staring at a screen and upsetting your wife because you're taking too long to do it, and then to post it and get 37 likes over the course of 2 days. Like it's maddening, but so necessary. And like the harvest is on the other side of sowing those seeds, just like enduring the suck. It's like you're trying to make this giant brick wall, and all you can do today is just lay one perfect little brick, right? That's all you can do is one brick a day. And if you want to have a wall, then just fucking shut up and start laying bricks. But it's not going to happen on its own.
It's years and years. It's so funny to hear kids nowadays. Like so many little kids that like my daughters hang out with, and even some of their cousins and stuff. They're like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. And I'm just like, dude, if you knew what goes into actually being a YouTuber, everybody thinks it's like make a video, post it, you're rich. It is so much just grinding and grinding, and there's so much that gets left by the wayside that no one ever sees. Like just content-wise stuff you throw. You mentioned the video that you took down. Corey and I have made so many videos and so many episodes that we've made. I don't know how many episodes where we shot a full episode, got it edited, and we're just like, that sucks. And we just didn't air it, or we like aired it and just kind of like dropped it and left it and didn't really put much behind it because we're just like, man, like we're just figuring it out right now, and we don't want to draw attention to that part of it.
So Tim, thanks so much for coming on today. We do really appreciate it. I just want to, when people tune into this podcast to watch this one specifically, what are they going to take from it?
Hopefully, I would love to inspire an appetite for growth. And I'm not the dude, but I'm the dude who listens to the dudes. And I think that if all I ever do is plant a seed of, hey, you should listen to Brian Tracy, I think it will be a win. Like there's so many simple, just like first steps. And I think that just flooding your brain and brainwashing yourself with something intentional, because everything is just brain rot lately. Like everything is just meant to sell you something. And so you really have to just brainwash yourself and find good input, because we're just fleshy computers, and mostly our programming sucks. So if I could create a spark for people getting into personal development, like I was lucky to be exposed to at a young age, there's not many 19-year-olds listening to like audio, like old school audiobooks in their dad's Impala. Like I was weird and lonely, but I am who I am because of the books that I've listened to and the people that I draw inspiration from. And Josh, thank you for telling me that that you got into Brian Tracy, or that you started that goal thing, because those are things that I feel pretentious making those videos. Like morning routine videos, like they always look like just like, yeah, cool, buddy. But that actually that seed found fertile soil tickles me.
Yeah, I should mention too, I've shared that with a number of my friends. I actually was at dinner with a buddy of mine a couple weeks ago, and he's like, dude, how do you get so much done? Like, because I write, I do all these things. He's like, how do you do it? Like, how do you find all this time? And I'm like, oh, I do this. And I showed him my phone, all of the things that I was talking about, like and he's like, that's incredible. He's like, and he took a picture of my phone and he started doing it too. So it's like, you didn't just share it with me, you shared it with him too. And who knows, like if he's told other people, but it is, man, like sharing that stuff around, it really does have an impact on people. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Josh has mentioned that to me before too, that thing. And I didn't take it seriously because it was Josh telling me, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm definitely going to look into it.
Fuck.
If I could point anybody to one thing, it would be chapter 3 of the book Flight Plan by Brian Tracy. And it's just him writing your flight plan. And he's just talking about how anything is the exact same as being a pilot and picking a destination and having an explosive launch with a million little course corrections along the way, and you will inevitably reach your target.
Okay.
You know what's
Brian Tracy's blueprint for goal setting and visualization, and just mapping the steps and then just attacking the list with brutality. He's the man.
You know, it's one of the wildest things that I had to deprogram from myself a year ago to kind of talk about what you're talking about. We have basically all of human history in our hands anywhere we go. And a year ago, I would be choosing that to make memes to send to my friends. And now I'm like on this personal development journey where I use that stuff to change my entire lifestyle by figuring out, you know, a more efficient way to schedule, learn these things that you're talking about. And it's like, this is a tool that can be really used for good, but man, we use it for so much bad. And that was probably the biggest thing that I had to deprogram for myself, is like not letting this zap my time for negative things, but to like use it to, like you say, course correct and make my life a whole lot better. So this can be good, but it can be, man, it can be really bad too.
Yeah. Being intentional about your consumption is like make or break. And I'm not perfect. Like I definitely have a phone addiction, and I've had some success with it too. Like, it's a dangerous cocktail of poison for me, because I am phone addicted and I am having growth on my thing, where anytime I want, I can open Instagram and get a cheap little dopamine hit of just like, oh, I got notifications. It's like, oh, 50 new followers. Oh, and if you have a post that gets a lot of likes, they cap it at 100. So you'll never see that you had 567 likes. It'll just show 100 likes. And it's so crazy how it'll evolve the little dopamine receptor. Like, likes don't do it for me anymore. Follows don't do it for me. I'm only there for comments. When I check my notifications, I just want to see if people are commenting on stuff. And like, it's weird how it progresses, and it's insatiable. Like, the appetite evolves and changes, but it can never be fully and finally satisfied. Like, it's this disgusting little, just like, and then as soon as, I check my notifications, now I'm just scrolling until I feel something. Like, it's pathetic, and I wish I could just turn it off and just be like, no, Tim, go to Audible instead. Just like start listening to that book you bought, you know. But this, like, we're just like comfort seeking, pathetic little creatures. And you gotta put in so much effort to like starve those appetites, you know. Like, there's some appetites that cannot be satisfied. You actually have to starve them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But
comfort is probably one of the worst things that human beings ever found. But it can be good. Certainly, it's nice to sit in your jammies and watch Vanderpump Rules or whatever your thing is. But you're not getting anything done. You're not growing. You're not improving in any way. You're just a blob on your couch sitting there, and it feels nice. It's like the whole thing with discipline, or pain of discipline, pain of regret. You know, sitting on the couch, not being disciplined, you're going to feel that later on. It's just life's trade-offs, right? You're making the trade-off to do nothing now and accomplish nothing later. So
yeah, and either way, it spirals, the good or the bad. Like, if you waste your time and you allow your flesh to be like, nah, let's just comfort, when you're going to hate yourself at the end of the day. But if you if you do something that makes you proud of yourself the next day, you want to do that more. Like, the good compounds, the bad compounds, but starting.
All right, last question. So, Tim, where can people find you?
Unfortunately, just Instagram. I'm an idiot, and I've squandered 4 years and don't have a TikTok, don't have a YouTube, and or a Facebook page. So Instagram is the only place you can find me. The Full-Time Flipper.
Dude, thank you so much for doing our show. Thank you so much for everything that you've given me. You've definitely helped me change a lot of things in my life, so I certainly appreciate it, and look forward to more of your content. And I'll certainly continue to be a fan of yours.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it.